Hi, everyone. Welcome to the seventh episode of my podcast. This is the last episode of season one, and I just want to say it's been a lot of fun filming these, talking to some amazing people, and sharing their experiences with you guys. That being said, today's episode was with Dr. Jeff Porter. He's a two-time Olympian. He ran the 110-meter hurdles in the 2012 and 2016 Olympic Games, representing Team USA. In his college days, he ran for the University of Michigan, and he's a three-time Big Ten champion and an NCAA champion as well. In our conversation, we went kind of beyond the numbers. I really got to know about his journey and what it took for him to reach the Olympic stage. And I guess what stood out to me the most was just how rewarding it was for him in the end and how much joy he felt to qualify and to be able to represent Team USA. Um, you know, Along with that, he kind of shared a lot of stories that he had. Things like meeting Kobe and meeting Obama and warming up next to Usain Bolt. And that was just a lot of fun to hear. So, yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy. It's my favorite episode yet. Take a listen. Hi, Jeff. How's it going?
Shop, good afternoon, sir. We're doing all right.
Good. I'm glad. So, everyone, this is Jeff Porter. He was a track athlete, ran track for Michigan, and then went on to compete for Team USA in the Olympics. So it's an honor to have you here. You're my first track athlete. So let's get this going.
Hopefully, that won't be your last one, though.
I hope not. So I just want to begin with your story, from I think maybe the beginning of high school and then your into your college days and then how you kind of transitioned into running track professionally.
All good questions. I think it'd be important for the audience to know track wasn't my first sport. It wasn't my first love. So my twin brother and I played football most of our life, and so we were playing Pop Warner football in New Jersey, and like thought we're going to be the next twins that make it into the NFL. So that was my first love, and so I didn't start really running track until I got to high school. My freshman year in high school, I played football on the freshman team, and then I wrestled actually my freshman year during the winter. And then during springtime, my football coach was like, "You guys need to do something to keep you in shape, so you don't get fat and out of shape for football season." And so I tried track, right? So I tried the javelin, the pole vault, the discus throw. I tried everything else besides running. Like that was not something I really wanted to do. And everyone who knows me knows that like that's how it started. Then one day there was a girl on the track team who was running hurdles, and I was like, well, you know what? That seems cool. I'll try that, right? So I went over there. I tried it. Everyone was sure I was going to fall on my face, but I didn't. Actually, I landed on the other side of the hurdle. So I was like, oh, buddy. And the rest of the track team was like, oh yeah, we got a hurdler now. So then we get to the first scrimmage. The very first scrimmage, it's night, it's after school, it's still cold, and I tore a muscle in my hip. That was the end of my first year. That was it. That was my entire first year running track. I tore a muscle in my hip with the first meet. I struggled to get through the race. I got through the race. After that, the MRI showed that I tore a muscle. That's it. Season over. So that was my first introduction to the hurdles. But, the good news is that I stayed with it. So the sophomore year, through our junior year, I would play football. Even senior year, I played football in the fall. And then my sophomore year was kind of a turning moment for me, right? I played football in the falls on a JV team, and I still didn't think I was that good. But that indoor season, I was like, okay, we're going to go for an indoor track team. And I got my behind kicked every single day at practice and at the meets. It was grueling. It was practices were awful. Like I didn't think I was getting any better. And then one day, I went to some of these indoor meets. I'd run okay, I get B, and it just wasn't a good experience. So we get to the outdoor season. We're in Phillipsburg, and I'll never forget this. And the coaches needed a guy to run 100 meters. We're running a dual meet against Phillipsburg. Guys run 100 meters, and I was like, all right, cool. They looked at me. I was like, well, I'll jump in. And keep in mind, like everyone we ran against were all the guys my twin brother and I grew up with, right? So we knew they had wheels. All right, well, I just won't get last. My goal is not to get last, right? Gun goes off. I haul out of there. I am running like my life depended on it. And I'm looking around like, oh my God, I don't see anybody else. Like I don't see anybody else. no one else is there. No one else is in the race. I was like, what happened? So I'm like, did I hear that? Did I not get her a false start? Did I mess up? I'm going to keep running until I see the finish line. So across the finish line. Boy, everyone else crossed behind me. I was like, oh crap, I got wheels. So that was my introduction. So my junior year indoors, I had a great year. Actually, had a really good year indoors, and then I think I lost a race. I lost one race indoors. My coach pulled me aside. He's like, "You better not lose another race." I was like, okay, that was great. So, anyway, long story short, I ended up having a really good, successful high school career. Joe and I were all Americans, and so Joe's my twin brother. For the audience who doesn't know, we were all Americans. I was state champion in my junior year. I struggled through injuries with muscle injuries all my entire high school career, but I managed to pull that stuff together. And then I was good enough. I got a scholarship to go run at Michigan, which was awesome, right? And it was a dream come true. But again, I was a Jersey kid, so I knew nothing about the Midwest, knew nothing about Michigan. Just knew that they had a great football team. And I was bragging before I left, like, "Oh, Michigan's got the biggest football stadium in the country." I kept saying that over and over again. Biggest football stadium in the country. It's all fun and good, so you have to actually run that stadium. So my first workout in college, I had to run Michigan Stadium. That was one of the most painful experiences I've ever had. But again, right, I get to Michigan. I'm one of highly touted recruits. And then I actually, again, workouts suck. I was not really good at working out. Like, I was not really good at practice. And I ended up winning the Big Ten title my freshman year. I won the Big Ten title my freshman year. I was second outdoors. And I was getting ready to go to NCAA regionals. And so you go through the typical ebbs and flows of college, right? My freshman year was pretty good. Sophomore year was sucked. Junior year was getting better. And then senior year, I ended up winning a national title. Surprising, right? This kid from New Jersey won the NCAA title.
Right.
And I was 3-time All-American. I was 3-time Big Ten champ. And so my college experience was wild. And so we found out my dad was sick in December of 2006. We found out he had stage 4 lung cancer. And his dream for me was to go to Olympic trials. So he found out he was sick. And so Olympic trials 2008 rolls around. I graduated high school. I graduated college in 2007, go to Olympic trials in 2008. And there's 4 rounds. I didn't make it out the second round. But he was so happy. He was so proud of me going through that experience. But what I found out through my sister and my older brother at the time was that he wanted me to really see if I could make this Olympic team. And so he died in August of that year, August of 2008. And what happened was I was debating whether or not I was going to keep running track. I was like, this is worth it, right? And I met a guy. His name was Alan Johnson. Alan Johnson was the 1996 Olympic gold medalist in the men's 110 hurdles. He was somebody who I looked up to my entire life, my entire career. I saw him. I met him for the first time. I was like, hey, Alan, I just want to let you know, I'm trying to get you some advice on something. My dad said this, and I was just like, am I going to, what do you think? Is it worth it? This dude told me the simplest advice I'll never forget. And he told me, just keep running. Simple, right? So I changed coaches, moved to Florida, found a great coach, and then I was trained for 4 years. 4 years I was training hard. I was going to international meets. I was losing, but I was getting better. I was, slowly getting better year after year. And then 2012 came. 2012 came, and the wildest thing about 2012 was I didn't think I really had a shot at making the Olympic team 2012. I mean, I was looking at everyone who was the world champ, previous world champ, world record holder, world number 1. Here is this guy, again, who's just gutting it out. Man, I'll tell you, there was a meet in New York. It was 5 weeks before the Olympic trials. It was me in New York, and I started running, getting to some really good form, really good shape, and dropping some really fast times. And we had 5 false starts in that race. And after that, I was second. And my coach looked at me. He only told me this later on after everything was said and done. But he said, I knew at that point we had a shot for you to make the Olympic team. So I go down to train with him again. So I moved away, and I came back to train with him for a week before we go to trials. We go to Olympic trials, and I did not have a good first round. I made it through the first round, but I did not race well. And my family shows up, my wife shows up, and I am just like, I'm like, you're full of emotions. And I'll never forget. I I saw the semifinal heat. I was like, okay, if I make the finals, we have a shot. The semifinal, I get to the semifinal race, the gun goes off, and I'm running like I was running like a freshman, a sophomore in high school. I was scared. I was running like I knew nothing else. I crossed the finish line, and I realized the guy who won, he had the same guy who had won in New York, and he ran one of the fastest times in the world in that race. And I was second. And I was furious. It hadn't dawned on me that I made the final. I was just mad because this guy just ran the fastest time, one of the fastest times in the world. Like, like people don't see, like if you run against somebody who's really that fast, and you'll see like they start getting smaller, and we were wondering if you guys are in the same race. So I see my coach in the warm up area. He was like, "What are you mad about?" I was like, "You see this dude? Like, I don't know what else I got left in the tank. Like, let's go." Like, so I sit there and I'm pacing. I am furious. I did one warm up start for that. I did one. My coach pulled me aside. He said, "Go sit down." Like, that's it. That's all he told me, is go sit down. And I'm just sitting there pacing. He didn't tell me nothing else. He just told me to go sit down. We get up, and then I was like, all right, well, I got ready, got ready for the final. Final goes, and so I'm already mad. Like, I'm already hot, right? And they're doing the introductions, the cameras in every lane. But they skipped my lane. Like, they skipped me. I was in lane 4. I was in middle lane, but they skipped me. And I'll never forget that. Now I am pacing now. I am furious. Boy, that gun goes off. I grind, and I remember seeing get off the 10th hurdle, looking around like I have a shot to make this Olympic team, and I dove across that line. And I didn't think I made it. I actually thought I was like 4th or 5th. I didn't think I made it because they didn't put up the number board. There's a beautiful shot of it. I dove across the line. I got up. I looked at they had won, the guy who had won, guy who was second, and the third through 8 spots were just blank. Nothing there. I was like, at least I give it the best I had, right? No one can ever say I didn't sell out for the team, right? No one can ever say I didn't give it everything I had. Man, they put my name up there, like number 3. Boy, I lost my mind. My family lost it. We didn't believe it. Like, this guy just made the Olympic team. Yes. So, long story short, that's kind of the highs and lows. And then I get to London, excuse me. Had a great time. Raced okay, didn't race great. And then I was getting ready to retire. I talked to my twin brother, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, listen, I had a great run. I did everything I could with the talent I was given." And he was like, "I was playing the NFL." My brother told me, he's like, "Listen, I was playing in NFL. I couldn't make it to London. You got to make the Rio Olympic team." And then he hung up the phone. Like, okay, this is 2012, right? It's 2012. You're talking about I got to do this for 4 more years. And so I was like, okay. So I credit my brother to being the reason why I gave it another 4 years. And we're back in this position again, right? Like, we go through the same thing. I didn't run well in the first round. I ran a really good semifinal race to make the final. And here we are again in the Olympic trial final. Like we're doing this 4 years ago. And it's still a rainy day. It's cloudy. It's gloomy. My family is there again. My twin brother's there this time. Yeah, I think Joe was there. I think Joe was there this time. And no one can be like, everybody's like, we're back at this again. Like, can we make it 2? And never forget, gun goes off, and we're back to this again, right? You're running scared. You're running like your life dependent on it. And the guy who had won the race, he was clearly ahead of us. He crossed the finish line. He had jumped the fence, hopped up in the crowd, went to go see his dad. And folks 2 through 8, because it was such a photo finish, like, no one knew anything. And it was the last event on the track that day. It was the last event on the track, one of the last events Olympic trials, and here we are, not realizing like what's happening. So, and it takes them 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes to really figure out, to delineate who was second through 8th. And they put up the second place time, and it was my training partner. And I was like, "Hey, man, listen, I'm so proud of you. Congratulations! Like, go out there." I wasn't really upset. I wasn't really upset about that. I was like, okay, I did what I had. I told my brother, like, I'd give it a shot. And again, they put the 3rd place time out there, and it was mine. Oh, again, so we made it twice. So that's the wild story of me and my track career. It's just, I've been around the world. I've seen a lot of things. I raced a lot of good people, a lot of famous people. I've got stories for days.
Wow, that's an awesome journey, and I'm sure the thrill of making that team not only once but twice is something that I think a lot of people dream about, and it's awesome to hear that was the experience you had.
It was wild. It was wild. I got a chance to, like, people don't know, like, I got a chance to, like, spend time with Usain Bolt, right?
Wow.
Like those guys, like his Jamaican team, they're fun to be around. I got a chance to spend with my American team. Like there were stories about doing the Olympic ceremony in 2012. Like the
Wow.
USA NBA basketball players are hiding in our compound because they're trying to get away from everybody else, and we're just out there like, is Kobe Bryant really just in my room? Like, yeah, like stuff like that. Like these,
Wow.
no one really, like, there's, like I said, there's just so many stories to really talk about. But the experience was just amazing.
That's really cool to hear. It's really cool. Maybe we'll touch on one of those stories in a minute. But you know, I just thought, I was thinking about this the other day, and it was like, as a high school athlete, I feel like a lot of us think about the finish line being like when you get into college sports, right? Like we're only thinking about that side of our growth, like how do we get better until that point. But I feel like a lot of people don't realize that, hey, once you go to college, there's a lot of room. You still have 4 years to develop, and you've got some great
Mm-hmm.
coaches to help you out. So a question to you would be, um, you know, do you feel like you grew a lot in college, and is that something to expect, like, hey, this is not getting into college is not the end. There's a tremendous amount of room for you to grow as an athlete and a person.
It's a great question. What I think high school athletes don't consider, right? High school athletes have a habit, and you'll see this on like ESPN 300 when really when you see one football. Everyone looks at going to college and then going to the next level. The next level is like the NFL, Olympics, whatever. Everybody just looks at it, but no one really thinks about like the growth that happens in college. Because you're thinking that, oh, if I sign this, I'm going to put me in a fast track to go to the next level, and it's put you on a better trajectory. But there's a lot that happens in those 4 years in college, right? And so what I would suggest is, like, when I got to college, my world exploded immensely. I traveled to places I had never been, never seen. I raced against people from around the world. I was exposed to, a growth beyond the track, right? I was growing as a person because I was in college at 17 years old. Like, like people go to college at 17, 18 years old. I was 17 when I was college. And so now I'm trying to grow. I had never been anywhere like to this state before. And I'm expected to live and figure out how to maneuver. You're dealing with new teammates, coaches, the event changes, your body changes. Um, and so what I would always encourage athletes and people that go to college, or athletes that go to college, is to understand, like, this is a growth opportunity, and it's not high school. And that's the thing people understand. It's not high school. It's not high school 2.0. It is a different ball game because now you're living on your own, right? Living on your own, you're not really being held accountable by parents, but your accountability partner changes because now they're the coach. Now they're your teammates. Now you're competing for conference championships. And now you're seeing people drop performances that will get them world ranked. And so your world opens up. And so what I encourage everyone at that time is to first understand, like, your growth is going to change and you have to accept it. Every race isn't going to be good because now you're like, hey, I was a high school All-American. When you get to college, a lot of us were. So you're running against a lot of people who said the exact same thing. I was high school All-American. Now I ran one of the fastest times in the world. It was like everybody said that. So now you're running against those people. And now you're going to try to compete against the NCAA championship and the conference championship with those people. And it's a different mindset. And so the growth happens whether you wanted to or not. But your exposure changes, right? You'll be able to say, hey, I actually ran against Jeff Porter. I ran against Joe Porter. I ran against Walter Davis. I ran against these people in college. It's a wild thing to say, but they'll get you ready for the next level, because if you can manage that experience, college is a great precursor to the next level, both in almost every sport, right?
Right.
Because if you look at football, a lot of the old professional coaches are college coaches. They get you ready, right? And coming into for track, being an individual sport, going to a place you don't know and trying to perform for people that you don't know, it's the same principle that you'll have to do around the world. So it's a great learning potential, and I encourage everybody. Like, going to college is one thing. You have to actually execute in college. You have to actually go to class in college. You actually have to get better while you're in college. Well, all that, and there are tons of distractions in college. right? There are a lot of people drinking, a lot of people partying, a lot of people not going to class, a lot of people doing some other stuff. And I've seen it all. But if you can manage that and, learn how to do things in moderation and while performing on the track, you have a good time.
Right. Yeah. No. Speaking of the next level, and like you mentioned, getting yourself developing in college and then going to that next level. Would you be able to like describe that transition from college? Because there are tons of college athletes, no doubt, and like you said, they're all tremendous. They all are probably some of the best, maybe in their state, or best in the school, whatever it might be. But the truth is that past that, the group gets even smaller. So, what was that transition like for you, going from college to professional, and maybe not just a transition, but um, the experience and seeing it becoming tougher, seeing the crowd become smaller?
What you realize really quickly once you leave high school, there's only about 2% of high school athletes that go to the NCAA at any level. So now you're among the top 2%. Less than that, so it's about 0.5%, less than 1% go from college to any professional. And what was a guide for me was I had somebody who was training at the University of Titair, who was also a Olympic athlete. And this person put me in contact with their agent and basically served as a mentor for me. I knew nothing about what it was like to go overseas. Nothing. And so that was a challenge. And so what I encourage people to do is get a mentor, get somebody who's been there to show you the way. Because besides that, I had no idea. I had no idea what I was doing. But I had a mentor, I had a guide with me when my first couple of races in Europe to show me how do you do things? How do you pack as a international athlete? How do you pack to go to Europe? And most people don't think that way, right? People pack to go to vacation, to Caribbean, to go to the West Coast. No one really knows how to pack to go to Europe. And there's some things you got to consider. One of the things I never had to consider was, guess what? What happens when your luggage is lost or late? And so, but you still have to compete. So you have to put your spikes and uniforms, some toiletries in your carry-on bag, right? Keep your passport with you, right? Keep a copy of your passport with you. Keep converters and cords and chargers and extra food, right? I had no idea about anything, but I had a mentor. And so because I had a mentor, that helped my transition immensely. So then when I got over there, I figured out, okay, number one, people can't speak English. Or they speak broken English. And it's very disrespectful to go to another country telling them to speak English. But because you're dealing with the sport, a lot of times English is a common language. But you got a chance to figure out how to navigate Europe, right? I've been to almost every European airport. I've almost been to almost every major airport in the world. And so my phone automatically connect. But before that, I didn't know. I had no idea. There's some things I had no idea about customs and visas and no one. You don't really know that. 22 years old, you've been in college at Michigan, USC, Rutgers, Florida State, and they're telling you to go to Europe. You're like, great, I'll go to Europe. What does that mean? Who's going to pick me up from the airport? How do I get to where I get to? What's the name of the hotel? What's the country code? And then my dumb behind, when after my first race, it was outside of Amsterdam, and then they're going to take your, the agent, the guy who booked my travel, send my travel arrangements already over to the meets. And they're like, hey, Jeff Porter, you're going to go to the airport. I'm going to pick you up at this time from the hotel to the airport. Great. They're like, hey, we got to be ready to go at 9 o'clock. I was like, is that AM or PM? Right? Because the rest of the world uses a 24-hour clock. I didn't know that. So 9 o'clock was 2100. 9 a.m. was 900 hours, right? So you pick up on a few things. But the point I want to make is that what helped my growth tremendously through college, right? Through figuring out how to do the academic stuff, through figuring out how to do life, how to do track, and then how to do track at international level. I found a mentor, and I found somebody who helped me guide who had done it before. Because if I had to do it myself, I had no idea what I was doing. Because I had someone there who showed me the ropes, that made the biggest difference. And so for everyone else out there, it's all fine and good. I will encourage everybody to get a mentor, whether it's a professor or somebody that went to be in the league before, went to this before, or a coach or whomever. Get a mentor, because that will aid your growth immensely.
Yeah, understood. And I truly believe that, and I'm sure, it's a good thing to pick up for all of us at any level. I'm sure a mentor will help. Um, how about a fun question? I know you mentioned you had some cool experiences in the Olympics being part of a team. You have any story that kind of sticks out, maybe either with another professional athlete or just something funny or interesting that happened on the team?
Oh my god! So I'll elaborate more. Right. So we get to the opening ceremony, and it's the night of the opening ceremony, and everybody's outside, right? And all the other countries are outside. This is London. It's 2012, right? And we're outside. So if you don't know, if you go to Olympic Village, and all the countries have their flags on the building. There's one country that does not, and the country that does not have any flags on their building is Team USA. Team USA has no flags on their building, so you really don't know who's in there. But it's a good bet if Team USA is that if Team USA is that has the whole building, there's no flags on. The flags inside, but there's no flags on. And so the NBA players, they're everybody's dressed, we're looking nice, we're getting ready to walk, right? And wearing these Ralph Lauren shoes. These shoes hurt so bad. But we didn't realize, like, because we could see the stadium. Technically speaking, we could walk from the stadium, 20 minutes walk to the stadium from the Olympic Village. Usually we take the bus, but right now they're like having all the athletes walk. And so we're getting dressed up in these white Ralph Lauren shoes. They look good, but they hurt, right? So the NBA players show up. Everybody's hounding them. Like, they're hounding them. Kobe Bryant and Tang, like, they're hounding them. They look at us. They were like, hey, can we just like duck in the yaw spot? Because it's kind of like not like an apartment, not like a condo, but like athlete housing. I guess the best way to remind it is kind of reminds me of a dorm, right? So we had outdoor patio areas to hang out. So the NBA players ducked in our rooms. And so keep in mind, like, and then we kind of just snuck around, like we just covered the entrance, and we're just like track athletes. No one cares who we are. So could have been 60 seconds that went by. So he's like, hey man, can we just don't want to like count this? If this is gonna be all night thing, whatever. Like, all right, cool. So he's ducked in to our place. We play some music, and we're outside basically on guard for the NBA team. Couldn't be 60 seconds go by. It was like a flood of athletes, men and women, all other countries running down. They heard Team USA this way. Hey, have you seen Kobe Bryant? Have you seen Kobe Bryant? We're like, knowing full well that Kobe's back there. Like, Kobe's right there. You're probably less than 10 feet away from Kobe Bryant. Like, you just don't know it. And we're not telling you. And so that was wild. Like, we got a chance to be with those guys, and those guys are cool. Like, it was really cool experience. And then I remember I get to the start, we get to the warm up area, and we need to do starts for this is 2012. We need to do starts, and Usain Bolt was doing starts. I'm like, you know what? Eff it. I'm gonna do some starts with Usain Bolt just to see what this is like. And I'm going over hurdles. And so the gunners, they're playing around. I'm like, you know what? Eff it. I'm just gonna go with them because everybody's taking too much time, and I ain't got that kind of time to wait. So I line up with Usain Bolt and Johan Blake in 2012 as doing some starts with them. Now, understand, my start wasn't bad. I had a pretty good get off. And so I hopped over the first hurdle, but man, when you see this man get past 20 meters, it's like it was like a turbo race car. Like, he just gone. I was like, oh my god. But for like 10 meters, I'll get you 10 meters. I'll talk some smooth trash for a little while. And so those are some fun stories. Like, there was we got a chance to meet President Obama.
Oh,
My wife ran for the British team, so she and I were in two separate compounds at the Olympic Games. Right, so we're just kicking it. Like, it was really. Here's the funniest story. One of the funny stories was Panasonic was an Olympic sponsor for the games, and I remember a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you know what? If you go to the athlete lounge in the middle of the village, they're going to give out these wristbands with these address." My friend and I, we get there, we're hanging out, and he says, "Hey, there's these wristbands with these address. What is that?" It's like, "Hey," no one said anything. He's like, "Hey, just go there." We're like, all right. So we got on the train and we went to this address, knocked on the door, and it was the Beats by Dre house. And we go in and we're like, "Oh, hey, you got your Olympians, you got your credentials on." We're like, "Yeah, awesome. We come on in, hang out, blah, blah, blah." And we get out there and we're just hanging out. We're having drinks. We're shooting the breeze, having a good time. we're getting ready. We're like, all right, cool. It's a nice time, but was it worth like an hour and a half? Spend out here. Hey, before you guys leave, you guys want some headsets? Like, how much? No, we'll give them to you. What's the catch? Like, no, we'll just give them to you. All right, so we walk into this room, into this back room, headsets for every country, every flag on that headset.
Yeah.
I walked out of that thing with 7 headsets. And so we walked back to the village. No one else seen him. No one had got him yet. My friend and I walked with 2 full bags Beats by Dre headphones, and everybody was like, "Yo, where did you guys go?" Like, and some of them knew me because they know I'm not gonna pay. They're like, "What, $300 a piece? I'm not gonna pay $300 a piece." They're like, "Nah, go to this address, bring your credential." Man, it couldn't have been less than 48 hours. The entire village had headsets, and we got in so much trouble. Panasonic was so mad because everyone else had these Beats by Dre headphones because that's what we wanted. And it was the best marketing ploy I had ever seen because I was part of it. Like, that was awesome. Like, so when we see those images, everyone wear those Beats by Dre headphones because we started it. It was funny, but it was comedy. Everyone in my family got a pair, and then all of a sudden, like, "Hey, can you get a couple more?" I'm like, "No, I just took 7." So anyway, that's some of those fun stories that happened.
Wow. Yeah, no, that is really funny. And I'm sure everyone there with you was probably like just shocked.
Shocked. Like,
everyone.
how did you guys get these headphones? Like, shocked.
Wow. That's really cool. Hey, so just to wrap it up, I have my last question here. Hearing you talk about, running in high school, college, and then training for 4 years and then training again for 4 years, it sounds like a lot. It sounds like, a lot of hard work. So was that all worth it? And if there's anything, if you had to go back maybe to your college days or something like that, is there anything you would do differently?
It's a great question. I've often thought about what, if anything, I would do differently. And then I sit down and reflect on what I have been able to do. Right, I went to school on a scholarship, so I got that covered. Right, and then I met some incredible people. I met my wife. We have 2 beautiful children. I got to meet the first Black president of the United States twice. I have an autographed photo with the president and me leading the U.S. Olympic delegation to the White House. I had great job offers, great stories. I was a leader of the athlete group for years. As an athlete chairman. I met some incredible people around the world. Yeah, there's, if I always think about, like, if I could do something better or different, like, there are moments and situations I wish I handled better. But my overall experience, I would not have changed it. Like, I would not have changed it because it made me into the person I am today. And like, I got a chance to meet the governors and state representatives and go to the Capitol building, and some of these memories and stories and photos I have will live a lifetime. And then I ended up in Tokyo for the Olympic Games again, and I may be going to Paris again. And it was just, I think I'm a very religious person, or try to be. I'll tell you, like, everything happens for a reason, and I can honestly say I would not have changed anything. I think it all happened for a reason. I was where I needed to be when I needed to be there. Now that I did not do everything perfectly. I had a lot of mess ups, but everything that happened was designed and was a reason that got me to where I needed to be, and I didn't see it at the time. Right? I didn't understand it at the time, and that's the thing about hindsight. Hindsight's always 20/20 because if I knew now what I knew then when I was going through that issue, I'd have been like, it's going to be all right because it's going to work out. But at that time, I didn't know it, but now I do. But that helps me get perspective of challenges I deal with now because I can look and say, well, it's going to, maybe in like 2-3 years, it's going to make sense. In 5 years, it's going to make sense. Right now, it doesn't make sense. Right? Those grueling workouts I tolerated and I dealt with. And what I will always encourage everybody is that we live in a culture that it seems very like get rich quick. You know what I mean? It's like we want instant gratification. And everything that's come to me has been through a grueling hard work process. But it's been worth it, right? It's like right now, you may or may not be able to see, like, I've got my 4-month-old son in my hands. And, everything's been grueling, but like when I look at him and I'd be able to tell him and other athletes, listen, I've been there. I've been there. I can tell you exactly what it's going to look like. I can tell you how it's going to come, but you gotta understand this is not going to be easy. So it's allowed me to do some amazing things. But there's nothing I would not have changed my path. I thought at one point I would have and been with Joe, my twin, and played football with him. That wasn't my path. Right? That was his path. And I supported him and just like he supported me. But no, I think everything happens for a reason. And I don't want to live life for regret because what the decisions I made at the time were the best what I made with the best information I had at the time, which seemed like the right thing I needed to do. And so I was divinely placed where I need to be. And no, I would not have changed it. Now I did a lot of learning, a lot of learning. But no, I would not change anything. Would not have changed anything. The only regret, and it's not even a regret. The only thing I wish, if I had to wish, okay, let's do that. The only thing I wish was that my dad was around to see, because he could see something that I couldn't, and it would be great. It would be great for him to see his vision come to pass, and it would have been awesome to talk with him about it.
Well said. I think that's a great perspective and understandable, and I'm sure everyone else kind of can see that, especially from someone who's an Olympic athlete and has done a lot. So yeah, well, I think everything you kind of said today is bringing something to light. I hope people can take from that, and I appreciate having you on the podcast.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for inviting me, and hopefully we'll be back again. We got some more. Like I said, we got tons of stories. It doesn't matter which ones you want to hear.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Dr. Jeff Porter. I've linked his website down below, so make sure to check that out. It includes all of his accomplishments and what he's doing right now. So it's awesome to be able to talk to people like him, and hope you guys have a great day.